It's Adam Schefter and Jeff Darlington who are here with the very latest. Schefter, I'll start with you. What are you hearing about where things stand for Tua right now?
There is no currently a timeline that exists, Greeny, and Tua Tagovailoa will go in search of that this week when he begins meeting with neurologists to get more information about his condition and what is the best course of action for him to move forward. He's 26 years old. When he went through this before, he had no desire to retire. My understanding is he still would like to continue playing and doesn't have any plans to retire. That is going into the meeting with the neurologist, which will help give him more information, which will help him make an informed decision. The Dolphins are sitting back and waiting to see what happens with Tua in these meetings and what comes out of them. And while I'm sure they've had to discuss how to proceed forward, I don't think they've had any significant discussions about replacements for Tua at this point in time, when Mike McDaniel himself has said that Skylar Thompson is the expected starter for their next game against the Seattle Seahawks. And I know a lot of people have suggested Tom Brady bringing him out of retirement. That's not going to happen with Tom Brady going to Miami.
All right, now, Jeff, for those who don't know, you make your home right there in Fort Lauderdale, so you're around this team as much as anybody, and you were there on Thursday night. What can you add?
Well, Greeny, I can tell you that first and foremost, I think it's important to point out that the team and Tua believe they are in lockstep with this decision. The team itself, I've spoken to members of the organization and the principal parties going all the way up to owner Steve Ross, believe this is Tua's decision with the independent doctors to decide his future. They plan not to push the envelope anything past that. But this is where this gets especially delicate. Now, 2 years ago in 2022, the NFLPA and the NFL put out a joint statement after an investigation into the handling of that situation. And they did say that in the week following what was never declared an official concussion, Tua never reported any symptoms, never told doctors that he had any issues whatsoever, and that's the reason that he was cleared to play. So I think the issue here, as they move forward, is hoping, everyone hoping, that Tua did learn from that he needs to be as upfront and honest with the doctors so that those doctors can provide the exact advice that's needed in this decision. The Dolphins, though, again, for their part, want Tua to make this decision. They want the doctors to advise him, and they, for now, want to stay out of that way.
All right, Jeff and Adam, thank you both. And again, that's why we repeat, he has been diagnosed with 3 concussions during his NFL career and 1 when he was in college in Alabama. And as we mentioned, it's a sensitive topic. And no two situations are exactly the same. And certainly, Tedy, as I start with you, yours was not.
Yeah,
Do you know what it's like to go through an experience with your health that has people around the football world saying he needs to retire? So would you remind the audience what that was and what your perspective is?
Well, I had a stroke when I was 31 years old. It was 3 days after I played in the Pro Bowl and after we had won our 3rd championship. And I think the lasting image of everyone of me was me running on the field with my kids. And so a lot of people had a lot of opinions in terms of whether you come back to play in a sport where you bang heads with 300-pound men after you've had a stroke. So that's the mental side of it that I had to go through, a lot that Tua's going through. You see as many doctors as you possibly can, okay? He's being supported within the organization, I understand that, but what doctors will give you is gray. Okay, and they will not give you black and white. I have personal experience from this, and Alex, I'm sure you do too, because it's like, listen, I had a device put in my heart. It's like, okay, when I get blindsided, will the device move at all? It shouldn't. Chances are slim. But they tell you, they give you all this information, and here's it all, but what they eventually say is it's something you have to live with. You have to live with the decision that you decide to come back after whichever injury that you have. In my case, it was a stroke. Can you live with it? Can your wife and family live with it? Which is a whole different dynamic where you can go through a whole nother show about what it went to try to convince my wife to let me play football again. So should he retire or should he play? I did both, okay? Because when I had my stroke, I could not see in the left field vision of both of my eyes. I was blind here. I could not see. To me, I was done. I went into Bill Belichick's office and told him I was finished, and I left. I had finished. But you get better. But you get better. And I'm sure Tua's going through these same thoughts also that, you know, yeah, you have the multiple concussions, but you get better and you feel fine. And the other thing you think about is this. I can't go out like that.
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
I just can't go out like that. I can't finish like that, because to all of us, how we finish our careers is so important, especially when you get into 7th, 8th, 9th years and you've been in the league and you know what it's like and you've seen all these great players and all their careers ending. You have your own ending up here in your mind. Tua still wants to win, and he still wants to have a career, and I would support him if he wanted to come back.
That's the thing I have probably the hardest time with. Well, I mean, obviously, watching what happened on Thursday and everything with Tua is hard. This is delicate. We don't know the details. But when everybody and their mother interjects their opinion into this, and they're not doctors, they're not neurologists, they're not experts in this situation, I think it only makes this situation harder. Right? Again, you just mentioned the conversations, the delicate and sensitive conversations that you had to have with your wife and the specialist to make this decision to come back. And it's just so unproductive. Can we just pump the brakes on this for a little bit? Let this breathe, right? Let him work through this with the experts before we make projections on the rest of his career. Can imagine the pressure that this is applying on the situation that is already insanely hard, right? For him and his family, right? And this entire Dolphins organization. And then I just think, again, it's insensitive by everybody. Again, that has no business throwing their opinion on this to do it.
If Tua decides to come back, yes, we are going to root for him and wish him the best. But is this all about Tua? There is life after football. So if I could give my opinion, I think he should really consider sitting down and really understanding what's at stake. Because the National Football League did all of these studies. They done put all these movies out. We had, 20-something different helmets, all because of the brain, the concussion. So to me, I really think he needs to really sit down, not with just him and the medical doctors and all. They're thinking about money and the Miami Dolphins. What about his family? That's the people he should really sit down with and let them help him decide if this is the best in his best interest to go back out and play football.
I mean, it's such, I'm sorry, Rick, it's such a decision, a family decision that my wife went through so much because she thought I was done. Like I said, I retired, but then I tell her my vision's back, I want to play again. And then that's I did not get 100% support. I would have been actually I would have been sort of nervous if she said, yeah, get back out there and play. No, it was no, you are my husband. You're the father of my three children. Mm-hmm. You're not doing this. So it was conflict at first, but after seeing people, it's what you have to live with that's what I mean. So I go out there on the field for the first time, and she said, all right, we got one rule, and that's the 3-second rule. You get on that ground, and if you're on the ground for more than 3 seconds, I'm coming out there. You better get your butt up. So it's what can your wife live with? What can your children live with? What can you live with? That's a big part of it. Absolutely, Randy.
Well, for you and your comeback, what did you went on to play 4 years after that?
Yeah.
What does that mean to you? What do those 4 years mean to you as opposed to if you'd have walked away? Right now, looking back on it, is it meaningful for you?
It was. It's because there's a whole community of stroke survivors that looked to me after that. And I was proud of that. And then, I was proud of the 4 years that I played because so many have come up to me and said, they went to they had the similar process that I had in my heart. They've had strokes they've had to get over, and it gave them hope. Yeah. And that was a different piece for me that was special.
I only asked that real quick because there were a lot of people that said the same thing about me coming back, that it was crazy, right? People that had no business interjecting on it. And my life is incredibly different because I did it. Incredibly different. I'm a better father and husband, right, because of it. Yeah. So, again, this is Tua's decision, his family's decision, not another head coach's on some random team.
I totally agree with that. It is. And you guys have done it personally and things like that. My thing is, when I see this thing, I'm like, God, dog, this can be avoided. And to me, I don't understand. Look, I get it. He's so competitive. He's trying to get extra yardage. But can we, I want to teach people. I don't know, if your son's playing or whatever, let me teach you something. When you're in the open field, that's when you slide, okay? When you're in the open field. Okay. If you slide when there's people around you, that's when you get concussed. Watch college, it happens every Sunday. Slide. No, that's not the answer. All right, when you're running here, you don't take it head on. What you do is you dive right at the ankles of the defender. That will protect you. We used to practice the drill and things like that. That's going to protect you. You never take the hit on with your head. You dive at the ankles. The defender immediately becomes a defensive player. He doesn't attack anymore. And that's what you got to teach these kids. And I'm pissed off when it happened. I was like, obviously you're devastated. You don't ever want to see a player get injured, ever. But I think it's avoidable. Like you got to teach it though. Teach the freaking game. And then if he makes a decision, it is on him.
Right.
All right. But no, teach this man that it's not. Alex, you and I talked about it last night. Never, ever, ever is it okay for Tua to attack something like that, ever. You got to protect yourself, whether you're in the open field or you're in front of other people. You've got to protect yourself.
I got to say one thing about what Darlington said
on
how the organization is in lockstep with whatever decision Tua makes. I disagree because everyone in that organization also has their opinion. I remember I had to talk to players that really had to check on me and said, are you sure about this? Are you sure about coming back? There are players that are concerned for Tua too. So I understand the whole lockstep and whatever he decides, yes, but there's now opinions that are also in that locker room that some people need to be talked about. I mean, specifically, it was Don Davis, my linebacker that also played linebacker, saw me training to come back and is like, bro, I need to talk to you, man. What are you doing? And we had a talk because he was genuinely concerned about what I was attempting to do. So that could be very, very possible in that locker room.
It's something, as you can see, makes so many of the former players and coaches and anyone who is connected to the game emotional, and sometimes those emotions can go in a variety of different directions. Adam Schefter, I'm told, has more on this. Shefty?
Well, we heard Rex talking about the sliding factor. I think that's what's so confounding to so many people here, Rex, is that basically the Dolphins had brought in all these slide instructors, and they drilled it into his mind to get down and to not take on additional tacklers. But I think what happened in this particular game is he struggled. He threw some early interceptions. They're playing from behind, and he felt the need to take on the world by himself. And he made a poor decision in a split second that led to him colliding with, of all people, DeMar Hamlin on this play. And I think that's why so many people around the league and with the Dolphins organization were exasperated, because they went over this scenario, the exact scenario, with all these different slide instructors and spent so much time teaching him to slide. And at that very moment, he didn't slide.